Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. Thursday Night Football is back. Good matchup, by the way, on Thursday Night Football. Of course, we got the Eagles taking on the Washington Commanders. We'll break that game down for you. We've got Adam Kaufman on the show today. In addition, we'll take the latest look at the sports contest in Las Vegas, see how everyone is doing out there, and Survivor contest as well. Brady Cannon will join us here on the show, and also Matt Latovsky from Sporting News, latest news notes from the National Basketball Association, also college basketball in full swing as well. So let's get right to it. First and foremost, we talked about this on the show yesterday, but it seems like we got to hit the pause button if tax rates on sports gambling are going to raise in Louisiana. It is not going to happen anytime soon. There was some notion that the state wanted to raise taxes on sports betting up to 50%, which is just like the state of New York, which is just like every other state across the country. These states see the influx of money coming. Louisiana has noticed and says, hey, we want to make that kind of money too. But as of right now, lawmakers have put a hold on raising taxes on sports betting in Louisiana. So stand by for this one and other states as well. Will this set a precedent, by the way, for other states? Remains to be seen. Best team in the NBA keeps on winning. It is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Folks, they are off to an incredible start. Best start in franchise history, 13-0 on the season and doing it in easy fashion. 114-106 yesterday. They beat the lowly, oh my gosh, is it really lowly? Philadelphia 76ers. What a season they're having. By the way, on the flip side, they're playing some great basketball right now. And by the way, how about this note? Of the previous 5 teams to start 13-0, 4 made the NBA Finals. Only the Rockets won that title back with Hakeem Olajuwon. And was Clyde Drexler on that team? Definitely Hakeem was on that team. I know that for sure. 114-106 the final. Their head coach, Kenny Atkinson, the favorite for Coach of the Year as well, talked about how well Philadelphia played, even though they were up against it. Also gave credit to his team, too.
Well, first of all, they played great. Give them a lot of credit. Really good strategy by Nick. Kind of got us out of rhythm with the zone. They blitzed us. You know, Nick, he's throwing the kitchen sink at you. And then they had a lot of guys play well. McCain obviously got super hot. But I was really happy with us. We kept sharing the ball. Like, even though it wasn't going in, we kept making the right play, making the right pass. And then the beginning of that third quarter, I thought we came out and got some stops. I thought Isaac was huge. We picked up our pressure. We were just too passive in the first half.
Great job by the Cavs thus far. We'll see how far they go this season. Meanwhile, Victor Wembanyama thought he had a great game last night. Giannis Antetokounmpo said, you know what? I'm going to do a little bit better. Giannis put the team on his back last night. My gosh, it's about time. 59 points, best scoring performance of the season in the NBA. 127-120 overtime victory for the Bucks against the Detroit Pistons. The Bucks have been losing games. They've been criticized. There have been rumors about potential trades, but Giannis entered the game last night essentially saying, I'm putting this team on my back, I'm going to be aggressive, and I'm going to go off.
Now, coming to this game, I realized, I got to be aggressive. Come out of the gate, try to be aggressive, try to get to my spot, try to kind of set the tone for everybody else that they have to guard me tonight. And while I was doing that was not working. We were down by 15, 18. Then coming out of the second half, I'm like, okay, I have to, within the game, still keep my aggressiveness, but keep on moving the ball. Then the ball was moving, everybody was getting energy. They were defending better. And then we got back to the game. Now, as a leader, and a guy that's very competitive, do you keep on going in that with that energy, with that mentality? I realized that, I had to switch up. Again, in the fourth quarter, I had to be more aggressive. I had to get more downhill, get to my spots. And, sometimes you got to be able to do both. Sometimes you got to sacrifice yourself for the team. Sometimes you got to be extremely aggressive for the team. Sometimes being selfish might be a selfish thing. Sometimes your teammates want you to be aggressive. But at the end of the day, in a game, you have to be able to do both. You got to be able to read the game, read the energy, read your teammate, and just be able to do both. Be aggressive, and sometimes you got to move the ball.
So Giannis overshadows Victor Wembanyama, who had 50 points last night. Remember, years ago, there wouldn't be one player scoring 50 in any game in the NBA. Now we got guys doing this on multiple nights. It's really true. 139 to 130, the final, the San Antonio Spurs win. It just goes to show you what the number one overall pick can do for you in the NBA. The Spurs, without Greg Popovich, of course, 139-130, they win. Surprise result in the NBA last night as well. The Chicago Bulls go into New York in the Garden and actually pick up a win, 124-123. So congrats to them. Knicks were down 22, had a chance to win at the end. But yeah, Bulls pull off the upset in New York. LeBron James, another triple-double, third straight triple-double in 3 Lakers wins. LeBron, again, the ageless wonder coming through in this one. And in fact, interesting notes from the game afterward from their head coach, J.J. Redick, who said that LeBron noticed some things during the game that opened up the scoring for him, and LeBron talked about that as well.
We got a LeBron dunk, and then we got an 83. And there was another timeout on their side, and Bron saw something in the way that they had guarded it the first 2 times, and him and AR, I said, are you on the same page? Just want to make sure you 3 are on the same page. The other 2 guys are doing the same thing. Yep, we got it. Bron gets a back cut for a dunk. So he just, he's mastered the game, and we don't win that game obviously without him, but it is, I thought it was a total team effort because we had some adversity tonight. Christian was great in the second half, and even just our life and our energy on the bench just completely shifted. Even the guys that didn't play tonight, they're just energy on the bench. That was huge for us. We kind of lost our way there in the third quarter.
We leaned on Dalton. We leaned on the Rook. He got it going, hit a couple, big time shots, and we all tried to chip in. I thought Christian was great in the minutes that he played. Our bench was really good. We needed that boost from him tonight.
Shaedon Sharpe for the Portland Trailblazers. Talk about a game for him last night. He had 33 points. Portland beats Minnesota yet again. Chet Holmgren out for Oklahoma City. Hasn't seemed to matter. They won again. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 29 points, 5 assists, 106-88 as Oklahoma City beats New Orleans. Now, in the National Football League tonight, a division matchup between Washington and Philadelphia. This line has been what it's been all week long, not changing. Commanders, 3.5-point underdogs at Philadelphia tonight. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, how about this? Both players had their homes burglarized last month. Really bizarre. October the 7th for Travis Kelce, and then later on in the month for Patrick Mahomes. Bizarre stories out of Kansas City. Speaking of bizarre, the Las Vegas Raiders, they love bizarre. They're going back to Gardner Minshew as their starting quarterback. He'll be the 3rd quarterback that the Raiders have used this season. Scouting Combine, by the way, for those of you who have attended, still going to remain in Indianapolis through 2026. All right, Diego Pavia, the quarterback of Vanderbilt University. Of course, he petitioned late last week to return for a 7th season in college football. As of right now, the NCAA is turning that down. He still can appeal, but it looks like his career will be over this year at Vanderbilt. DJ Lagway, the quarterback of the Gators, is practicing. He's hoping to play this week against Louisiana State. Last night in the MAC action, Miami, Ohio beat Kent State 34-17. Northern Illinois beat Akron 29-16, and Ohio beat Eastern Michigan by a final of 35-10. Tonight, there is one college football game. East Carolina, 14.5-point road favorites against Tulsa, and the total is 62.5. All right, coming up next, Eagles, Commanders. Can the Commanders pull off another upset? Matt Latufsky will weigh in on that next.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. with 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you. Pinching your own cheek? As I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. Thursday Night Football is back. Of course, our programming previewing the game tonight begins right after Scott Farrell's show at 3 o'clock Eastern, so make sure you stay tuned to that. Matt Latufsky will be busy setting his bets, his fantasy lineups, and everything ahead of this big week in the NFL. Some people think that this is the single best week in the NFL all season. We'll find out from Matt. Matt, thanks for coming on the show. I'm a little partial to Thanksgiving week, those 3 games on Thursday, Sunday, and Monday night. But, hey, the schedule does speak to a really big week.
Yeah, this is the type of schedule where if you're trailing in a pick'em league or something like that, you can make up a lot of ground this week. Now, often in these types of weeks, you tend to just sort of even out and stay exactly where you are. But there are a number of toss-up games and a number of big games that are going to affect playoff seeding and all sorts of other things in the future. That this should be one of the best weeks of the year, if not the best for sure.
Yeah, I think so. Some really good games as well. I actually didn't have a hard time in, like I have an office pool too that I do, where clicking the button of the team. The game that I had the hardest time, Matt, is tonight. I got to tell you, tonight to me was the hardest game, even in a pick'em situation, because it's like I genuinely think the Commanders could easily beat the Eagles tonight. But the Eagles have played very good football over the past month. They're 3.5-point favorites. I guess from a spread perspective, if I'm saying that means I'm taking the Commanders. But when you think about it, even, the Bears game that they shouldn't have won, it was a Hail Mary. The game that they lost against Pittsburgh last week, you could make the case. Who knows? They get the ball back, kick a field goal, they win. So, boy, I think this one is a complete toss-up for me.
Yeah, I think you're right about both teams could win, and because that line is 3.5, that would give the edge to sort of backing the Commanders there to keep it within a field goal at the very least. And that's the way I look at it too. But you're right, when you look at the Eagles are quietly one of the best teams in the NFL. And for whatever reason, it doesn't seem like they get that credit. Maybe it's because of how they ended last year. Maybe it's because of Nick Sirianni's head-scratching decisions throughout this year. Where they've almost lost some games where it felt like they should have won by more. Whatever it is, this team is stacked. They have a fantastic defense. We know what they can do on offense. They have the most unstoppable 3rd and short, 4th and short play in the NFL, even though it hasn't been quite as good this year as last year. It's still very good. And then you have Saquon Barkley on top of all this to add what they had last year. this team is really good, and I don't think they get quite enough credit. But at the same time, like you said, the Commanders are a fantastic team too, defying a lot of the odds. Whatever, the Cliff Kingsbury offense that people say will get figured out or that got figured out in Arizona hasn't gotten figured out yet. And Jane Daniels is still doing what he does. So I do think the Eagles are certainly the safer money line pick, being at home and on a short week, having a veteran quarterback who's more used to that. But at the same time, I think the Commanders can certainly keep this one within a field goal. And I definitely think they can win too if they just get a couple breaks.
Yeah, what's interesting is that if they do win tonight, they'll be favored to win the division. And right now, they're plus 195 to win the division on the money line there. So if you think they're going to win, I think that I would take that bet tonight at plus 195. If, again, you think they're going to win, because, again, that puts them in the tiebreaker scenario. This is the last big plus money spot to win the division that you would get with Washington. And we won't even get into Dallas, and we won't even get into the Giants. All right, well, here is the gift of the week, is it? Look, you know me. I'm very careful. I'm measured with these picks. But, Matt, these two teams have played a million times. It's a last-second field goal, one way or the other. It was 3.5 earlier in the week, Ravens and Steelers. Now it's the number is 3. I got to take Pittsburgh, I always just take the points in this series. It's going to be 16, 15, 14, 13, 21-20 with a minute to go. I think the difference for me this time around, Matt, in this game, call me crazy, is the fact that I'm not positive Justin Tucker is going to kick the game-winning field goal for the first time in like 10 years. So for me, that's why I think Pittsburgh is my play here. Obviously, I could see Baltimore winning, but doesn't it feel like this every year? Same game, it doesn't matter where they play. Line's always 3.5, and then it comes down to the end.
Yeah, whether one team's sitting their starters, whether they're not, it doesn't matter. It's going to be a close game. And the fact Pittsburgh's at home, I think, kind of gives them that little extra edge for sure, at least with the spread. But, yeah, I think what's interesting about this game is you mentioned Justin Tucker not being able to fully trust him this year. You really can't trust that Baltimore defense at all either. And now that Pittsburgh kind of has their passing game going a little bit, at least their deep passing game going, and that's opened up the running game as well, that offense just looks a lot better than it did even early in the year when they were winning some of these close games. Maybe you might even call them fluky games at times, but they were coming through there. And now it just feels like they're much more of a complete team. And yes, they're still playing a close game like they did last week where they easily could have lost, but they're finding ways to win. They have that veteran quarterback who knows what he's doing. Looks like he's got his mojo back a little bit, and we know they have a great defense. So this is going to be a fantastic game. I'm really looking forward to it. Baltimore's offense is scary, and if they get some turnovers early, maybe we get ourselves a little bit of a surprise avalanche, but I don't think so either. I think it's going to be close.
All right. And then the special treat comes with the Chiefs and Bills. I got no idea on this one. I just want to enjoy it. Bills are minus 1.5. I guess teasers are in play. Maybe you can, tease Kansas City up to 7.5 or something like that. But for me, this is the game of the year in the NFL. We'll see if it plays out that way. It's just a different scenario than what we've normally seen, which is you would look at this total of 46.5 last year, Matt, and say, wow, way over, right? 50, 60. But the Chiefs defense is really good.
Yeah, it really is. And this game's in Buffalo. And I think that's going to add a little extra juice to this game. The thing I worry about, though, are all those injuries to the Bills pass catchers. I think that's going to make things tough. It's just Josh Allen or bust type game, which, look, he's used to putting the offense on his back, and he does it as well as anyone in the league. But I just think, Kansas City's going to lose at some point, right? It doesn't feel like they're good enough to go undefeated. But this also feels like a good spot for them. So it's a really tough one to pick, I think. It's a classic toss-up game. I like Kansas City. I just think they're a better team. But if you really want to bet against history and you want to be that person, knock yourself out, take Buffalo. They're at home. They always beat the Chiefs in the regular season. So, yeah, I can see them doing it again for sure.
Yeah, Bills have played better than the Chiefs recently. I don't know what that will mean on Sunday. Thanks again, Matt, for coming on the show.
Appreciate it.
We'll be right back.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, hey, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you. You pinching your own cheek? Because I was looking down and did not know we were getting...
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas, you know?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The battle for the NFC East could certainly kind of come to an end tonight. If the Eagles beat the Commanders, they'll take a 2-game lead for the division. If the Commanders win, they're right back in this thing. Should be a close matchup. We'll get a preview of that. Also discuss the future of Aaron Rodgers and talk a little Bengals football. Time now for the SportsGrid Sound Off. All right, let's get it started tonight. We've got a 3.5-point spread. Eagles over the Commanders going into Thursday Night Football. Should be a fun one. We got a couple of really good Thursday Night Football games recently. Will we get another one tonight? Let's get a preview of our very own game with Kevin Walsh.
Thursday Night Football with the Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Washington Commanders for a battle in the NFC East. The Eagles are a 3.5-point favorite, and if the Eagles can hold serve, win, cover, it's going to move a lot of their numbers. They have found themselves as over minus 200 favorites to win the division, and a win over Washington could more than double that number. The Eagles are also now the second choice to win the NFC, jumping in front of the Niners. Still a big gap, though, between them and the Detroit Lions, even in the Super Bowl market, where the Lions are more than half the price of the Eagles, who are currently 10-1 to win the Super Bowl. Perhaps a win like this in prime time could shift a lot of those odds. It could also shift the Jalen Hurts price to win League's MVP. Currently the fourth best odds behind that AFC trio of Mahomes, Lamar, and Allen. But a win here for Hurts, and one of either Mahomes or Allen has to lose on Sunday, and all of a sudden Jalen Hurts could be a top 3 MVP candidate. We'll watch it play out. Craig, it's back to you.
All right, thanks, Kevin. We'll catch Kevin tonight with a preview of the game as well. All right, a preview for the 2025 NFL season has already begun for some teams. That would include the New York Jets. New York Giants too, probably. But needless to say, it has not been the season that either team has thought they would have. At least the Jets have had a quarterback that's headed to the Hall of Fame. But will he be back for another season leading the way? Aaron Rodgers at his media session was asked about this season, how it's played out, and whether or not he plans on returning to New York next year.
Not really. Not for the negatives, no. Not really.
So you still want to play in 2025?
I think so, yeah. I think, health obviously has been a big challenge for me. The other parts, there's intangible things for sure. There's guys to get to know you don't know. You haven't been around. There's obviously system, trying to get on the same page. There's personalities that you got to get to know, and guys, you learn to, you can push certain guys, you got to, pat certain guys. So it's part of the process. It's been actually a really beautiful couple of years for me in totality, but it's obviously been frustrating with the football part.
Aaron, do you have a message or an answer for the fan base that's disappointed, still some people optimistic, and then others that are realistic about where you guys are headed?
You really want me to send the message out, huh? Listen, I said yesterday, I think you got to hold on to the hope of something great happening. I've been in the situation where we've been 400, 500 before, and I said back then it just takes one to kind of get the momentum going.
We'll see if that begins for the Jets against the Colts this week. Meanwhile, we found out last week how good Jamar Chase is. We've known for a long time. But last week, a historical game for him, scoring 3 touchdowns, almost 300 yards wide receiving. Joe Burrow, of course, is the guy that's responsible for getting him the ball as much as possible. But what happens when Jamar doesn't touch the ball as often as he wants? Joe Burrow was asked the question how to get him the ball more when he needs it.
No, he's not. But, when you have a guy like that, if you're not finding ways to get him the ball, then he maybe isn't going to let you know directly, but he'll let you know in his way for sure.
What's his way?
Depends. Sometimes it's on the sideline. Sometimes it's individual conversation in the locker room. Sometimes it's through you guys. There's a lot of different ways that a receiver can tell you, hey, get me the ball.
He was saying saying Thursday night you guys didn't talk at all.
There wasn't much to say. We were playing well. When we're on the same page like that, it's always fun.
Has he ever said it in those words? You didn't need to get involved.
I'm not sure he said that directly to me, no. But maybe a glance tells me that.
I think right now, Burrow knows exactly how to get Chase the ball, and he's gotten it to him. Adam Kaufman will get the ball to him next.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, hey, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek. Because I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. We got Thursday Night Football coming your way tonight. Adam Kaufman's all ready to go. Got some player props, some positions potentially on the game tonight as well. We'll see if we can dive into those. Adam, thanks again for coming on NewsWire. I don't know that we're going to top last Thursday night's game. That was a great game that we saw last week. A lot of points, a lot of offense. Got a high total tonight, though, again, 48.5. It's Washington's prize star rookie, Jaden Daniels. The Eagles' offense generally pretty good. Thanks for coming on the show. I would think that this has the makings of a good one tonight. How about you?
Well, look, on paper, it's a great game. I only hope that it does, in fact, live up to the hype. Lord knows it's an important game. It's not like we're getting, Patriots, Jaguars or something like that. The Commanders are 7-3. The Eagles are 7-2. These are two teams that are ticketed for the playoffs, and this is very much a fight for first place in the NFC East because it is going to come down to these two teams. Sorry, Giants. Sorry, Cowboys. It's all about the Commanders and Eagles now, and it's the first of two meetings. So it is obviously incredibly important. I think there are a lot of interesting props and spots that do jump out, but in terms of the side, it's hard to know, Greg, exactly what to make of it. You see, especially with that hook, you see Washington plus 3.5, and that is ultimately the side that I did bet. But I can't say that I did so with any great conviction. Like, I'm not going to be shocked if the Eagles go out and win this game by a touchdown. I just, think you have to consider that the Commanders are very live for an upset, and the way they've been playing lately, especially offensively, something's got to turn around on them.
Yeah, I would agree. I sort of feel like tonight's game, a lot of times, yes, that hook is huge. But for me, tonight's game feels like, Adam, if you feel Washington can win the game, then you just take Washington, and they probably win the game.
Yeah.
I don't know that this is going to be a factor in that tonight, but we'll see. All right, but here's the interesting props tonight are with the quarterbacks. Let's dive in real quick. We'll take a look and see if you have any positions on tonight's game. The passing yards for Jaden Daniels has fluctuated quite a bit, 226.5. He's missed some time and been in and out of games, and the first halves have looked kind of ugly with him, and then all of a sudden he comes alive in the second half, 226.5, passing touchdowns. The under is the heavy juice here at minus 178, plus money on the over. Rushing yards, 43.5. That's straight money at 113. Anytime touchdown, plus 210. Yes on an interception, minus 102. No at minus 128. So, look, the way that I guess, like, if the prop was available that I would look at this, Adam, is probably under on his passing yards in the first half. I don't know why. It's so strange that it's taken just him some time to get going in all of these games. Yeah. It feels like they struggle in the red zone a lot in the first half in all of these games. But then somehow he comes back, he comes alive, and then crushes those second half props.
Yeah, it's an interesting angle. I can't say that I've ever really spent much time in the prop market in terms of halves. So it's given me a little something to think about after we're done here to dive into a little bit of research. But in terms of the full game passing under for Jaden Daniels, it's actually one of my favorite plays in this game. And I know you can look at it and say, man, 226.5, really? Like, the guy usually throws for at least 200. There are a confluence of factors that come into it. For one, defensive coordinator Vic Fangio is excellent against rookie quarterbacks, who, again, he is seeing now for the first time. In his coaching career, he is 20-10 straight up against rookie QBs. And Daniels, it doesn't mean he's going to go out and have a terrible game. There are just so many different ways that even if Washington can keep this close or win outright, that Daniels can beat you, with his legs, with his feet, obviously. I don't think the arm is going to be a huge part of it necessarily. The Eagles, over the course of this year, are improved in terms of their defense, especially that pass defense. Looking at some of the numbers right here, this pass defense is allowing 173 passing yards per game. It is 140 on average over the last 6 contests. And as for Daniels, he leans a lot. We've seen it, and probably no better example, obviously, than that Hail Mary against the Bears a couple weeks back, but he leans on the big play. And like the Commanders, it was only weeks ago we were constantly in these previews touting, man, the Commanders, they have more 20-plus passing yard plays than anybody in the NFL, and this is how they thrive and all that. Well, the Eagles have allowed the third fewest big plays, big passing plays of 20-plus yards. So they find a way defensively to keep guys in check on the other side. They don't allow a ton in the way of yards after the catch. They just find a way to, again, limit you in that space. And so I think that Jaden Daniels is going to have a tough day. Now, you may be hitting the nail on the head in terms of the slow start, play it in the first half, assume that Commanders are going to be down, going to have to pass to keep up, something like that, and then he balloons for yards in the second half. That may be the way the script goes. I played the full game under, though. I like the play.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if that's the case, considering Philly can't score in the first half of any of their games either. So it just may be an under across the board. McLaurin has had some really big games against Philadelphia in terms of catches and yards, so we'll keep an eye on him too. All right, now let's go to Jalen Hurts, who has similar numbers here. Passing yards, 224.5 at minus 113. His passing touchdowns, I mean, imagine a 1.5 under juice at minus 165. If we look back to last year, how many touchdowns, especially he was throwing in September and October of last year, that completely cratered. Rushing yards, 38.5, anytime touchdown, minus 110, and anytime interception, plus 136, no, minus 138. So, running a little bit more of a conservative offense than a year ago, it feels like, Adam, for now, using their running back more than anybody has in the NFL. That makes some sense, too. It's why Philadelphia's gone on this run. What do you make of Hurts' props?
Well, using their running back, but also using their running quarterback. Don't forget that Jalen Hurts has 8 rushing touchdowns in his last handful of games. So he is, they're tush-pushing like you read about. In terms of the passing yards, I don't have a play on it in terms of one that I invested on myself. Forced to make one, I would lean toward the over simply because it really comes down to one guy, or really two guys, but opposite sides. There's no Marshawn Lattimore in this game. He has been ruled out. And so without him, I just don't know who contains A.J. Brown. I think A.J. Brown is very live to not only go over his passing prop that's in the low, or receiving prop that's in the low 80s, but to, ladder him up 100, 125. I think A.J. Brown could go crazy. And if he does, right now that has us talking about, well, if A.J. Brown gets half of Jalen Hurts' passing yards, then of course, you like the over 220 and change. So I would lean in that direction. And, but I do think it's a very interesting number because, as we know, Hurts, like Daniels, is just as likely to run around. And as you noted, they'll lean on Saquon Barkley, who is coming off. People want to say, well, a short week, it's a Thursday. How involved is Barkley going to be? He did not have a heavy workload over the weekend, I think, in part because of this game and knowing that they were going to use him. This Commanders defense is bad against the run. It's allowing almost 5 yards per carry. I think Saquon goes off tonight. So if you're looking at overs, over on Saquon rushing yards, over on Brown receiving yards, and then, just see what Hurts does around it, basically.
All right, good stuff, Adam. Like the content there and the insight. Let's go to a couple of games real quick in the NFL. 49ers statistically seem to, look at their numbers. How are they not covering the spread and winning in these games? I still can't figure it out. They're 6.5-point favorites this week, total of 48.5. I think the results of the last few weeks have just brought their lines back. I mean, this normally would be a 7.5 or an 8 against Seattle, but they're missing field goals and guys are getting hurt. They're not covering. Do they get the job done this week, or is this another position where Seattle's got a shot?
Well, to your point, if Jake Moody doesn't miss 3 freaking field goals last week, they cover the number. So that's how they're not covering. And I was on the wrong side of that, unfortunately. Christian McCaffrey was kind of eased in last week. I know he was very involved in the receiving game, not as much in the rushing game, only ran the ball 13 times. I think he is in a solid spot this week against the Seahawks. He obviously wasn't available last time around when they matched up earlier this year. Niners won that game going away. I think they will again. Something to keep in mind. Historically, over a half dozen meetings, Deebo Samuel absolutely torches Seattle. I mean, like 100-plus total yards every single time out, with the exception of one where he had 94 or whatever it was. So I would take Deebo overs, and I would take the Niners to cover and get the job done. Seattle's not very good.
No, loud and clear, Adam. Thanks again for coming on NewsWire. Good luck this weekend with your positions.
Same to you.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, hey, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was
that's what
looking
your
down
grandma
and did
does,
not
right?
know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
One of my favorite parts of the week is bringing in my next guest, Brady Cannon. He and James Salinas and Mike Pritchard are on the air on SportsGrid every Saturday doing their contest show. I am a subscriber, a listener, and a follow of all of Brady's work. But I have to say, I am very disappointed. I am very, very disappointed in Brady to start the week. Craig Mish gave out one pick, his game of the year. He does it every year. He waits for the coach to get fired, and he fires in on that team. And we did it last week with the New Orleans Saints.
Good for you.
I tuned into the show. That's the only game I did all year. I'm 1-0. We had Brady on last week. Brady's like, I'm with you. Definitely feel that way. I listened to the show. Brady's like, yep, that's the play. And somebody amongst your group must have talked you out of that. I don't know what happened there. Brady, I got to tell you, you and me are buddies for years. I was fully waiting for that play last week. You didn't sell it hard enough. Come on.
Yeah, it was a great play. Obviously, it turned out, and we're well aware of that, the new coach bounce theory, and I was absolutely an advocate for that. But I'll tell you what scared me off of it, Craig, a couple things. First of all, I think the Falcons became a little bit of a contrarian play. They were actually in the minority as far as number of selections in the Super Contest, so that could have been a good win had the Falcons not just completely stubbed their toe in that game. I heard you talking to Adam Kaufman in the last segment about Jake Moody missing field goals. How about Younghoe Koo missing field goals? I mean, boy, between those two teams, I think it was 6 or 7 field goals that were missed. But really what scared me off of it was the number of injuries for the Saints. I didn't know if the new coach bounce theory was going to be enough to overcome all the injuries the Saints had. Olave was out. Shaheed was out, who's really Derek Carr's favorite target. So that, gave me some trepidation, and unfortunately it cost me.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I watched that game too because of it. Maybe it was just me. I thought the Saints were playing hard. It looked to me like they were playing really.
They definitely
especially
were. Their
the end of that game.
Incredibly enthusiastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
all the signs were there, and it came through. So good on you, my friend.
Yeah, 1-0. I'm done. I'm retired for the
That's
season.
right.
We don't
Retire. That's it.
I'm done. Brady's got to pick 5 games every week for these contests.
I know.
So he can't retire. So let's talk about last week. A lot of dogs coming through again. Feels like things are normalizing. It does feel like this has been a bad season overall for the books. A lot of favorites have covered indeed this year, but last week we did see a little bit of normalization with the dogs coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. You're exactly right, and it was a very weird week. I think it was a very tough week to find winners that, teams that looked like, or games that looked like you had the right side. They all kind of went the opposite way. The Saints was a new coach theory there. I thought the Miami Dolphins were in a really good spot, and the stock was too high on the Rams. The 49ers, coming out of their bye week, and the Buccaneers extending themselves so much in that effort against the Chiefs, and they hung in there for a second straight week. It was like you said, I think the books got a little bit healthier in week 10 because, they got crushed in the month of October. I think there are some books out there that had like the worst October in history. So, you're right. Things kind of flipped. And you probably heard our show last week, and I introduced the thought of, okay, guys, do we need to just go rogue and pick some ugly numbers, ugly teams, what have you? Because, we're not going to win it if we don't do something drastic at this point. And it was James Salinas really who brought up the point, like, look, there's so many mini contests and quarterly contests available now. Let's just keep trying to pick the games that we like, and maybe we can get hot for 3 or 4 weeks and win a little mini contest. And I said, okay, that's fine. I'm okay with that theory. He said, we're not going to win it all at this point, so let's try and win a piece. And I thought I saw a great tweet from my friend Las Vegas Chris, who, like James Salinas, is one of, if not the very best contest players I know, Las Vegas Chris on Twitter. And he said, don't give up at this point. Don't not submit your picks. Set goals for yourself. Even if you're out of it, try and accomplish this, try and accomplish that. Because, when you get to that year, when you are in the thick of it, if you're not putting pressure on yourself now, if you're just giving up halfway through the year and just kind of going through the motions, when you do get into the thick of it, you're not going to be ready for that type of situation. So I thought that was very good advice from a very accomplished contest player.
Definitely so. One of the other strange lines last week, I know it played out this way. I hate to be that person. But how in the world were the Jets favored at Arizona? I to me, that
I think
was
you take them this week. Because now the public is all over the Colts.
Right.
Have you seen
gotta
that?
go the other way. Yes.
It might be this might be the week finally to actually play the Jets.
But that was the craziest line of the year, I think, honestly. So weird. I can't figure this stuff out. All right, let's get to week 11, and then we're just kibitzing so much here. We don't have time to even get into the games. So week 11, anything on the board that you looked at early here?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple. The Miami Dolphins should not be favored by 7 or 8 points over anybody. They've lost 6 out of their last 7. So I definitely like the Raiders here. I made the number 3. I mean, I could understand 4, but boy. And, the Raiders struggling going into their bye. That's when I like to bet on a team. They get a chance to get things right and reset. So I like the Raiders. I also like the Chargers on Sunday night. The Cincinnati Bengals are taking the bulk of the action, and that's fine with me. I made the Chargers a 2.5 or 3-point favorite. So I'll gladly. Money line is probably a good play there on Los Angeles, in my opinion. But I'll start in week 11 with Thursday night, Craig. We've seen this number go from 3.5 to 4. I bet it again. I'm on the Commanders at 3.5, and I'm on them at 4 as well. And it just goes to my theory that I've been writing all week long. You bet against the Commanders the week before a division game. That's turned out all but one time this year. And you bet on them when they're in a division game. Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury are absolute monsters in division and specifically against the NFC East. I think they will definitely stay within the number. I made it Eagles minus 2.5. I could understand 3. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if Washington wins this game outright.
Great stuff, Brady. As always, we'll see how the results flow this week. We'll be catching the contest show here on SportsGrid. Thanks for coming on.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, hey, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations. The way you coach this football team, I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you. Pinching your own cheek? As I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. There's actually a very popular boxing match tomorrow night on Netflix. It's possible you may not have heard about it. We're going to talk about that. We'll also get into a potential auction that you could buy of a former Major League Baseball player. And have you been paying attention to the cryptocurrency market? If not, I'm going to shed some light on that too. It's time now for some last licks. Well, it's certainly possible there's a lot of you out there who are unfamiliar with cryptocurrency or unfamiliar with Bitcoin, altcoin, and all these other coins. Look, I'm very familiar with it, okay? But a lot of you may not be. So I will sort of tell you the 30 to a minute second story is that there is something called cryptocurrency. There's something called Bitcoin, if you haven't heard. And a lot of people have, invested in this coin. And that's not me telling you what to do either way, but there are former and current players in sports who decided to take their salary in what's called Bitcoin. And ironically, this has worked out very well for those people because Bitcoin saw its biggest increase of all time this week, going from 40 to 50, and then this week up from 70 to above $90,000 per Bitcoin. It's come back a little bit today, I'm seeing here, to about 89,000. But regardless of that, Odell Beckham Jr. took his entire Ravens salary in Bitcoin. So you know what that means, folks. If he held on to it, he went to social media yesterday to say, I guess I did pretty good. I can imagine that Odell Beckham did not sell his $6 million salary in Bitcoin before it went up all the way to 90,000. I don't know. I have no idea. But why would he post this on social media? So for those people who were critical of OBJ and some other players too who have done this, they made a lot of money, off this, at least for now. Very volatile, goes up, goes down. It's a lot different than the stock market. But kudos for OBJ, did the right thing here, apparently, and made some money, apparently. All right, now, for those of you who have made a lot of money on cryptocurrency, maybe this is for you. You can buy Ted Williams. His Medal of Freedom is up for auction. Those of you who are familiar with Ted Williams' story, you may know that at the end of his life and at the end of his career, a lot of his items were sold with his family. It's just like a long story for another day. But regardless, his Medal of Freedom that was honored and given to him by the President of the United States is now available and going to be up for auction. I have no idea what this sort of thing would sell for, and I don't know. Would I guess a few $100,000? Maybe that sounds realistic, but of course, Williams stopped playing Major League Baseball to enter the military and then came back and then finished his career. There's a lot of people who feel like Ted Williams, had he not gone into the military, would have ended up being the very best Major League Baseball player of all time. Still remains to be seen. Lost, I believe, 2 or 3 years to the military at the time. All right, Friday night, folks. Are you a subscriber to Netflix? If you are, then you've got a shot to see that, which is Jake Paul's going to fight Mike Tyson, 58 years old? 58 years old, I believe, right? Is it 58 years old, Mike Tyson? They're going to fight tomorrow night in a heavyweight fight. It is exclusively on Netflix. They have held press conferences all week long. There's a lot of fake I hate yous and I'm going to beat yous going on all week long. We can make no mistake about the intelligence level and the marketing ability of Jake Paul. He's done a phenomenal job making himself into a boxer somehow and getting to the point where he actually convinced Mike Tyson to fight. Over on the FanDuel Sportsbook right now, Jake Paul is a very heavy favorite to beat Mike Tyson in this fight. The books are basically saying that they need Tyson to win this, or excuse me, Paul to win this, because all the money's coming in on Tyson, which doesn't make much sense because Paul's still minus 205 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Regardless of that, I'll watch. I think a lot of you will be watching too. I think Netflix is going to do very well on this. It will be streamed live. There's also pre-fights on Friday night, so we will preview this fight. We'll see if we can dive a little bit more into it, although Tyson hasn't fought in 20 years, so kind of hard to say exactly what this is going to look like tomorrow night on Netflix. Again, Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, tomorrow night. Okay. That will do it for our show today. Thanks again to Matt Latovsky from Sporting News. In addition, thanks to our buddy Brady Cannon for coming on the show, and also Adam Kaufman of SportsGrid as well. Thanks to our director Luke, and for my producer Frank, I'm Craig Mish here on NewsWire. Coming up next, we got the early line, followed by Pharrell Coast to Coast, and you know we got some great programming ahead of Thursday Night Football, Pro Football Today in-game live, and Pro Football Today post-game, all coming your way on Thursday Night Football. Make sure you tune in, keep it locked here to SportsGrid throughout the entire day, because again, we got NBA, we got college basketball, NHL as well. So we'll see you back for our Football Friday. That's tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, for our next edition of NewsWire. We'll have Bill Bender on the show previewing the week of college football. Enjoy the rest of your night here on SportsGrid. See you then.
Football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, hey, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go here on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.